Okay, hi guys. I hope everyone's doing fine. And today we're going to be talking about how much data do you really need. So what is mobile data and how does it work? So your phone has two ways of accessing the internet, either by Wi-Fi or by cellular data. Mobile data is what allows you to get online when you don't have Wi-Fi. You can send and receive information over a wireless cellular connection. As long as you have a cellular connection, you are able to use the internet. How does it work? The difference between Wi-Fi and cellular data is that Wi-Fi can be free in many places, such as restaurants and malls, while data you'll always have to pay for. With data, you can be charged cellular data overages as well. And they are usually in plans, they will give you the amount of data you have. So it might be in megabytes or gigabytes. 1 megabyte is made up of 1024 kilobytes, and the next measurement up is a gigabyte, which is made up of 1024 megabytes. How to determine how much data you will need? It ultimately depends on how much you'll be using your smartphone without Wi-Fi. The average person uses about 2 to 5 gigabytes of data per month. For people who rarely use data, 1 gigabyte of data could be enough, or even less. Depending on your phone carrier and phone plan, it will determine how much you will pay. The more data you get, the higher your bill will be. A phone plan with unlimited data can cost around $85 a month. So when thinking about how much data you'll use, think about what you use your phone for. Do you use Spotify to stream music on daily walks? Do you use Google Maps every time you drive? Or do you like to FaceTime your family when you're at the park? All of this will require different amounts of data. So what is using up most of your data? Here's a chart of how much megabytes of data is used depending on what you do. So if you look at the chart, you can see that things such as downloading a song or downloading a photo will take a lot more data than opening a web page on your phone or maybe sending an email. Things such as video calls also use a lot of data, like we're in right now. Watching videos also uses a lot, and streaming music as well. And using the less would be using things such as Google Maps for directions. So here are some apps that use the most amounts of data. So these all have some form of streaming that you might be watching videos or viewing photos on these apps or streaming music, and they all use a lot of data. So some apps that use a lot include YouTube, Instagram, Netflix, Facebook, Google Chrome, Twitter, Spotify, and Skype. Some apps that use the least amount of data would include WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, FaceTime, and Zangi. To get an idea of how much data you'll use, you can go to your phone carrier and check online. So for instance, in Canada, we have Virgin Mobile and Bell, and they have online data calculators to give you an estimate of how much data you'll need, and they'll answer some questions. So how they work is that you'll go on the website and they'll have a few questions to gauge how much data you'll use. So as you can see in the photos, they'll ask you how often you visit websites, how often you watch videos each day, how often you use apps, how often you open emails, do you use GPS navigation, and how much people are going to be using the data in total. On the Virgin Mobile website, it is pretty much identical as the Bell one. You'll use sliders to represent how much you expect to use on the different apps. So if you check on the photos, you'll see that you can adjust the slider to adjust how much emails you'll use each day, web pages you'll visit each day, how much messages you use each day, and how often you'll be streaming videos. How to track data on your phone. So for iPhones and iPads, if it's a cellular iPad, You can go into an overview to see how much data you have by going to Settings, clicking on Cellular Data, then scroll down to find which apps are using the most cellular data. If you don't want an app to use cellular data, you can turn it off for that app by pressing the toggle button. So if you see in the image, you'll see these green toggles. You can toggle them off if you don't want the app to be using data. When cellular data is turned off for that app, it will only be able to operate via Wi-Fi. How to avoid going over your data plan. So the first tip would be turning off certain apps. So sometimes you might not need your calendar to be using data, so you can turn that off. Ensure that you don't have any unwanted apps running in the background, and use Wi-Fi whenever possible. And in these days, many places have Wi-Fi access available for free, as I mentioned. So local libraries usually have them, restaurants again, shops, shopping malls, they all usually have free Wi-Fi available. And when visiting friends or a business that has a Wi-Fi network but has a password, you can simply just ask for the Wi-Fi password. But if you want to be extra stringent, you can keep your data turned off until you need it. Another way to avoid going over your data plan is by installing your carrier's app. So in Canada, we have Bell, Rogers, and Virgin Mobile. They all have their own apps, and then you can check how much data you're using, how many minutes you have called this month, how much you're gonna pay this month for your bill, things such as that. You can also turn on notifications for reminders of how much data is being used. And on Android devices, you can also add a cellular data limit to avoid going over. If you think you'll need more data than what you have, you can change your data plan to a higher tier one to avoid surcharge fees, or you can also purchase add-ons from your carrier. How to track your data for Androids. So first off, you're going to the Settings app. You'll press Network and Internet, and then go into Data Usage. Under Mobile, you'll be able to see how much data you have used since the start of your pay period. And then you tap Mobile Data Usage to see graphs and a little bit more detail about which apps are using the data. So next up, finally for my presentation, I'm going to do a live demo of me using the Bell data calculator. Good. So here's the Bell online data usage calculator that I mentioned. Now there is also one by Virgin Mobile, but they are part of the same company. So here's the calculator. Okay. So as you can see, there's the categories here on the side. So web, the number of different pages viewed on the web each day. So usually for me, I view about 1 to 30 pages per day. So I'll select 1 to 30. Videos, time spent streaming videos on the internet. So this would be in YouTube high definition quality. So for me, I would definitely be watching more than 7 minutes of videos every day. So I would select 7 minutes per day. Next, we have app usage. So time spent on your favorite apps, including social media and online games. So I also spend more than 12 minutes per day. So I selected over 12 minutes per day. And music streaming. So so this is asking you to see how much time you'll be streaming music on services such as Spotify, Apple Music, and SoundCloud. But since I have a subscription service to Spotify Premium and I download my music, I don't need to be streaming music, so I selected never. Emails. So the number of emails you send and receive without attachments each day. So I usually get like a few emails each day, maybe 1 to 5. So I selected the 1 to 50 emails per day. And finally, GPS navigation, the number of trips which you use on your GPS navigation system. Now, since I don't drive, I selected never for this option. And how many users are going to share this data plan? So for me, it's just me on my current plan. So I just selected one person. But if you wanted to add more, say you wanted to add your family into this plan, you can change the options to fit the amount that your family uses each day and then change it to the number of people. So maybe you have 3 people sharing the data plan. So you can go up to 3 or up to 5. But for me, I'm just going to select 1. And I'm going to select Get Data Recommendation. So here it's recommending that I get 5 gigabytes of shareable data. And there's also a promotion where they give you another 5 gigabytes bonus. And it's telling me that it's going to cost me $35 a month. And then you can also view more packages if you think this plan won't suit you. And you can also view phones if you don't have one currently. And you can also reset here at the bottom if you messed up or maybe you want to change some of the options. You can start again just by clicking the reset button and redo the form again. And that is essentially how you use the Bell Data Usage Calculator. And that concludes my presentation.